What does it really mean when your calcium score is increasing? Does it mean that you're getting worse and worse off? That's what you'll hear in the standard medical community, and like so many things. That's the same community that thinks LDL is the only way to fix, quote, bad cholesterol is the only way to fix heart disease. Things are not quite so simple as that. Sometimes you may be getting a good news scenario with an increased calcium. Now, how does that happen? Watch this video. What you lost clean slate when you went from 74 to 66, and what I lost when I went from 73-year-old arteries to 57-year-old arteries was probably not the LDL coming out of that space, although that may be happening. I don't think it was. I think it was the inflammatory cells, the leukocytes, the monocytes. And pardon me if this is getting a little bit too technical. There are people listening that are technical enough to where they're picking that up. So again, as usual, we're getting a little bit geeky, but anyway, you're losing fluid, you're losing the inflammatory components. And here's the point that you brought up earlier. When you go through that process of decreasing the inflammation, the body tends to deposit calcium. So you find these people that think, here I'm 3 and 4 years into it and I'm still increasing my calcium score. Unfortunately, that does happen because it can take years to reverse all of that inflammatory process. It took us years to get there quite often. So that's my little spiel on that part of the CIMT. Now let's go back to the original one and look at this next space. It's titled CV event risk. And as you can see, people respond to red and green and yellow. And please, you've been pretty good at sharing your bare emotions. So you want to share raw emotions, which I bet you had.
Oh, that wasn't as bad because I had expected it. And the first one I actually got by Todd. Todd scanned me the first time. And he was pretty businesslike about it. The second one, I had a lady do it, the one from this year. And I really had to hug her because I asked her and she told me, she said that she saw some points of calcium on some of the spots in my arteries. By this time, I took that as just great news, that everything's hardening up because the first time they were all H's, heterogeneous. And this year I got 2 echogenics, and I know enough now to know that that's a good thing.
Thank you very much, because we get that too. It's back to that story about, your calcium's still increasing. Of course it's still increasing. You're still removing some of that soft plaque. The show's getting a little bit long in the tooth, and let me go to that space. At this point in time, what's really important to you is exactly what you just mentioned. If people will get this, I will actually ask them, we'll take the time, I'll stop talking, and I'll ask them to read, go to the comments section. I've asked Todd to drop this whole section under CV event risk because I have to talk people down out of a tree. They're getting ready to jump off a window. But he's keeping it there. I understand, get people's attention, and it's scary. Now, let's go back and, if you would, read the 2 lines next to the statement comments.
The following values are the largest intima media thickness measurements found in each carotid artery segment. Any measurement equal to or 1.3 millimeters is defined as plaque and is characterized as being either soft, S, heterogeneous, H, or echogenic, E. All measurements are in millimeters.
So, as you can see, even Todd still has a little typo there. He meant to say greater than or equal to 1.3 millimeters, but you understand the intent. You understand what he was saying. If it was 1.3 or higher, we found from the research evidence that's what we call a plaque, or I call them a discrete plaque. And so that's getting away from this arterial age, which can be a little bit scary sometimes, and people might argue with it, and most of all, suffers from the issue of garbage in, garbage out. This part does not suffer from garbage in, garbage out. Calcium is calcium. And what we want to know is if you have discrete plaque 1.3 or higher, and if you do have it, is it calcified? Because once it becomes calcified, that process of getting rid of inflammation has started. People will say, okay, Dr. Brewer, I get soft is no calcium. I get echogenic is very stable. Is heterogeneous or H, is that halfway in between? Because that's what this implies. And the answer is no, it's not halfway in between. Once you've started that process of calcification, medication, you're stable. You're like 90% there. So many of us, myself included, don't ever get to echogenic, that we continue to stay at heterogeneous. But to your point, you had good news. You know your calcium store continued to increase from 315 2022 to this date. Your old one showed 4 plaques. Right.
It said multiple plaques is what it said, over 1.5 millimeters.
Yeah, so you had right bulb, right internal carotid at 2.1, left bulb at 3.2, and left internal carotid at 2.2. So you had 4 plaques. The right and left carotid did not have plaque in them. They were 1.2 and 1.9. Now, of those 4 that you had back in March of 2022, all of them were heterogeneous. None of them were echogenic. That's fine. That's a stable plaque that's not going to, the vast majority of heart attack risk is not there for you at that point. But what you know now is, when was the date on this one?
This was March 27th.
This year, 2 of yours have gone echogenic. Your calcium score slightly increased.
And that's okay.
Yeah, if you didn't know better, oh my gosh, my calcium score is still increasing and something's wrong, I'm getting into further danger. No, you're not. What you're doing is you're further calcifying that soft plaque that remains there and heterogeneous plaque. So you had to listen a lot on those shows to pick up everything that you've learned. I appreciate your interest.
Well, you were interesting. By the way, I meant to bring this out. I finally, about a month ago, because it was supposed to have a lot of treatment stuff in it, I got it, by the way, and I got the treatment stuff. So the Baldonine book has worked for me as well. I've also got your book and Todd's book, and I tried to get the course, but I was never able to get into it, probably because I work off the phone. If I could, just to finish this off, I'd like to let people know how I got here in my mind. So from 2018, just really briefly, I started a ketogenic diet. I was on it for better than 2 years. I'm still on a very low carbohydrate diet, which runs somewhere around 50 to 60 grams a day. I eat sardines with avocado mashed together every lunch, 7 days a week. That's my lunch. My breakfast is a concoction of 3 eggs, some protein powder, turmeric, and I usually end off the day about 43 grams of fiber. I use Chronometer to keep track of all my food, and I have for 5 years now. I fast once a month for 60 hours. I've settled on that because I was doing longer fast, and intermittent fasting doesn't work for me. I think that I needed more protein, and I was losing more muscle than fat when I was trying to stay at 2 meals a day. So I don't do that anymore, and that's about it. So 60 hours once a month I fast, and I actually saw things when I did a longer fast, 5 days. I saw things actually falling off my body, things that skin tags, and I thought, that's working. But I get a real good ketone boost after 12 hours, so I think that 2 days is enough to maintain my muscle as well.
Great story, something for you and something for Jesus. So great story, Clean Slate. Really appreciate your sharing it. I hope you didn't go through too much adrenaline getting started. Again, we had some glitches, but the glitches, I think, helped increase credibility.
Totally chill now. Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome on that, but thank you for demonstrating to folks that, yes, this may sound geeky, but there's life-saving information here. And you don't have to see us. You don't have to see any doctor. You just listen, you learn, you can take your health into your own hands. Looking to improve your health and add decades to your life? Join me in the PrevMed team December 1st and 2nd in Tampa, St. Pete for the Heart and Stroke Prevention event. This is an event, not just a conference. You'll not only learn how to prevent heart attack and stroke using my battle-tested methods, you'll also access accurate, predictive testing that the majority of physicians never use because they don't know how. All you need to do is click the link below this video or simply go to PrevMedHealthTampa.com to sign up. Hope to hear from you. Thanks.